Hello and welcome back to the MDL. It is eMburst, and I am here for week 1 for my matchup versus Izzy. It's season 3. We're back with an all new and just as confusing team, all new and improved graphics, and all new matchups just for all of y'all in the league to enjoy. Now, let's get out of the way, get through the overview so we can get into some of the things that we're more likely to see, my team preview, and the match. So, of course, you can see my team is warped as always, with Urshifu Finny, Togetic Magnezone, Talonflame, Altaria, Sceptile, Mesprit, Morgrem, Lycanroc, and Piloswine. Against this team that has Lele, Dracovish, Gigalith, Hawlucha, Cephalon, Tangrowth, Glaceon, Umbreon, Toxtricity that looks more like a punk rocker than it did in the original sprite for some reason, or model, sorry, Sandslash, and Twinkling. Now, looking at this matchup, their team is obviously far more intrinsically synergistic. For example, the Gigalith Dracovish and the Lucha Lele. And I do expect that Lucha Lele to come, I will say. I'm not sure about the fish, but we'll see. There's obviously way more that can go on here, a lot more that plays off of each other. It's going to be my main goal when approaching this team to try to shut those down and shut down the small things that aren't so synergistic about this team in order to gain an advantage and a leg up. Now, I will say that this is a bit of a better matchup than some would think, mainly because I have the slower Tapu. Finny is about 10 base points slower than Lele, so in any sort of turn order, Finny is going to get terrain prioritization, which means I get terrain shut down, so it means very little expanding force shenanigans, so they may not go for that. However, they may play very slow with it and put it in the back, so you never know. Now, there's also the fact that Urshifu hits a lot of this team very, very hard, so it's probably going to be their goal to shut it down. I'll get into a bit more of how they're going to probably want to try doing that in the next slide. So anyway, here's the base matchup. We'll get into what we think we're going to see next. Alright, so here's the graphic, of course, for what I plan on bringing and what I could probably see. Now let's go over what we will probably see first, mainly because it'll influence what we bring. Now, first things first, they're throwing if they don't bring Lele Lucha. Now I'll explain why. The only mon on the scene that has fairy type damage is Lele. I checked every single mon, none of them have fairy type damage. Which is huge for me because Urshifu really doesn't like fairy type damage. So Lele is going to be coming quite often. Also, Urshifu doesn't like fighting and flying, and of course Magnezone doesn't like fighting. Piloswine doesn't like flying. A lot of my team does not like fighting, and a lot more of it hits very neutrally with flying. So of course, Lucha's probably gonna come, and also it gets quite a bit of coverage that can hit my team pretty hard. Now, the only thing I may see against it is, it may not get its terrain boost, but given it's next to Lele, it'll probably, as long as it's sent out next to it, it'll probably get it. Now there's also Tangrowth, hits Finny very, very hard, but it can also be used to take attention away from it. For example, I don't even know. Also, I believe Rage Powder is priority, which is a little bit of counter synergy I just thought of in this moment at 10 p.m. at night. Rage Powder may be canceled out by second terrain because it's priority. I'm not sure. I'll have to check this. But yeah. And finally, Toxicity is just a hard counter to Finny because it hits very, very hard for super effective for both types stab. So nothing you can really do about that. It's guaranteed to hit hard against it. Also, my only hard check to it is Piloswine. And the other check is Mesprit. So Mesprit is obviously going to be the faster one of the two and the one that can get the leg up. And that's going to be pretty exploitable. At least if they play around it. Now what we could see, Gigalith might be probably a good option for creating extra synergy and an extra side to this team, especially with the Dracovish. It could also lead as an explosion set and get easy KOs to pick up. If I don't read it correctly, which I am planning on reading correctly. Dracovish as well. There's not too much my A team can deal with it, though there is Finny. And I do have priority Tailwind if it does come. But I guess it really depends on how they feel about it. Finally, Blacephalon. It has expanding force spam, so if they feel very good about their terrain setting, I don't think they'll see much of an issue with just spamming that. It also hits a lot of my team very hard with Mind Blown and other special fire and ghost attacks. So I do see a world where it comes, though the terrain may be a reason it doesn't. And finally, Umbreon. It probably won't come because of Urshifu, but if it does come, it'll shut down a lot of my special attackers very hard with Snarl. And I don't have anything that'll want to foul play really, because the double resist on Urshifu. But there's a world where a lot of this would work in Umbreon's favor. Now we probably won't see Sandslash, Glaceon, and Klinkling. No reason I really have to explain that, other than there's no reason. I mean, they could bring Klinkling for plus-minus strats, but probably won't do it because of Urshifu and for Talonflame and for a million other reasons, including Magnet Bolt, Magnezone. Also, the only one I really have to explain is Sandslash, and that's purely because it could hit very hard into the Magnezone, which is going to be a guaranteed bring of mine. But it's also fairly frail and fairly slow compared to speed buffs that it doesn't get. Now for my own team. Finny is an obvious bring to check the terrain. It also can tank a lot of hits, and I have very big plans for it regarding the constant pressure I want to be putting out. This week I'm going to be putting out super effective where it matters, particularly on Gigalith, onto the Umbreon, onto this what's called the Hawlucha. Super effective there, and I'll have speed control with Icy Wind. This is going to be very, very important for my matchup this week. Next is Magnezone. No Magnet Pulse strats today. I'm prepping this around the fact that I can easily get hit hard by Hawlucha, but it's going to hit very hard to the Lele, which I wanted to. And it's going to sit there and spam Electro Webs when it's not. So that's the plan there. Finally, Urshifu hits too hard not to bring. And even though it's checked by Lele, it does 90% to it without much defenses. So unless it's a max option where I'm screwed, generally it's great to bring against it. Now for my might brings, Piloswine, of course, is a toxicity check, but not too much you can do other than that. Maybe I can spam Icy Wind if it gets that, I'm not too sure. Togetic, because it's a flying type, it just sits there, does stuff. You know the drill. As long as it targets also flying type or levitate, it can also helping hand. A lot of good stuff there. Vesper is good for offensive utility that a lot of my team doesn't bring, especially in the must bring column or the row. It just gets quite a bit of coverage that my team doesn't already bring. So that's very useful. However, it doesn't bring the same amount of support as the other mons in this row. Talonflame, of course, priority Tailwind, sets tempo in my favor. I can also use Will-O-Wisp or just hit anything pretty hard with a Brave Bird. Finally, Morgrem, if I have the terrain in my favor, it can be very good defensively to stop their flow. Finally, for the Won't Brings, Lycanroc, of course, can shut down things like the Toxtricity and the Blacephalon. However, its main usage is for the Accelerock, especially against that Blacephalon, and if the terrain's not in my favor, it's not going to go anywhere. Also has a lot of things that can shut it down, so I'm not going for it. Sceptile, too volatile, it's too dependent on the terrain, and it's not going to do much there anyway, because it's mainly going to be there to counter that Gigalith. If I don't see a world where it comes, also Altaria, only there to counter Sand really, but while Sand is up, what's it gonna do? Gigalith, of course, being the main Sand setter, is just gonna kill it anyway. Why is it gonna be out there in the first place? So that's it. I'll improve the graphic next week, but we'll get into the team preview and what I'm actually going to be bringing this week. Alright, so here in the team preview, I'm going to try and make this short because last time I did this, it was like 20 minutes long. Not 20, but like 10 minutes long, way too long. Maybe quick. Alright, so next to this team, gotta note that. Anyway, we got Assault Vest Finny, because I wanted to be a beefy boy. All of the max HP, backed out defense and special defense. Special attack good enough to where I can, if I believe I have Misty Terrain boost, I can fill the, not Misty Terrain boost, but whatever. If I have any sort of boost at all, or if Lucha has any sort of debuffs beyond the psychic terrain, I should be able to get a kill on it with a Moonblast. Next we have Talonblade, priority Tailwind, potentially priority Brave Bird, Will-O-Wisp because I'm speed creeping the Lucha, and if in Tailwind I will be outspeeding the Unburden Lucha. So that's very nice. Now we have Urshifu G-Max, which has Choppleberry because my plan is not to bring it against the Lele, because it's the only thing that does fairy damage. So having a Choppleberry is really good for other super effective attacks. Super Blow, close combat as always, as you would expect from an Urshifu. Base Punch to reset Weather and Max. Red card Magnezone is here because red card is going to be my Unburden counter, so I expect a lot of close combats from or a close combat or something from the Hawlucha to come out into this thing. So being able to live that hit and then fire a red card at it is going to be huge for my momentum. Same with Electro Web here. That's all about momentum. Tri-Attack is for max options, and Flash Cannon for Flash Cannon, of course. Esprit is my last minute mod. Acid Berry because I expect a lot of Blacephalon attacks to come into it. Expanding Force for my second terrain. Shadow Ball as my Lily counter. Grass Knot as my ability to hit the Gigalith. And finally Togetic. Doing Togetic things. Yawn can be hit into, I believe, anything that's flying in Misty terrain, or just anything in general in the second terrain. Helping Hand can do the same for, yeah, for my team, I guess. Follow Me just always works because I'm flying. And finally, Dazzling Gleam. Wait, no. Villain just... Yeah, that works. Anyway, max HP, max special defense, because that's what I'm worried about. A little bit of defense there. This is speed creeping a Toxtricity. This isn't speed creeping anything. Speed creeping a Lele, I believe. And no speed creeps here, it's just an extra EV. Alright, that's the team. We will see you in the match that will be going down shortly today. Alright, so we have the match. So, we've got Finny, Talonflame, Mercyfu, Magneso, Mesprit, Togetic against literally everything that I thought they'd bring, which is Gigavish with Toxtricity, Tangrowth, and Lele Leecha. So of course, against exactly what I thought I'd be seeing, I'm going to bring exactly what I planned to lead. Magneso Mesprit with Finny Urshifu in the back. Now I did realize two things. One, Expanding Force didn't get the value that I thought it would, so I switched it for Psyshock. And second, that I don't have a great answer to Dracovish. And you're going to see exactly that. I have a horrible answer to Dracovish. My only real answer is Finny. But of course, it doesn't want to be out against Finny. It also requires what's it called? It also won't be setting up. That's it. It's gonna probably get sand set up. So Urshifu doesn't get much because of that. So we're going in to the battle, and what we see is the Dracovish and Gigalith. And now this is like the one lead that I don't have an answer to, just to straight up. So I'm thinking Gigalith probably won't max. If anything, Dracovish max, but that will probably get rid of some of the boost. So my Mesprit seems very worthless here, and I'm just gonna protect it. One moment. I'm going to protect it and just see whatever I can get off with the Electro Web. If I'm able to Electro Web, I can probably get some of the speed momentum in my favor. So what we see is the Gigalith Max, which is surprising to me. But also, it's not going down when it's max, so I'm not going to worry about it. We have the Mesprit Protect here. And of course the Vicious Friend into the Protect, meaning that it stays alive. And the Electro Web gets the crit onto Dracovish. Now this means I probably don't have a reliable source of getting damage into Dracovish next turn. Because, like, that sad move couldn't do shit. And so Magnezone is left on 1, red card gets wasted. I mean, tough spot. I don't really have a great answer for this at the moment. Now, I'm thinking, well, Dracovish is probably just gonna kill the Mesprit this time, so I'm going to switch that out. I'm gonna let Magnezone go down and just see if I can get another Electro Web. And so, the best thing that can take a Vicious Friend is my Finny, so I go into that. There's not much going in here. I'm just trying to survive, stall out the Gigalith, and stall out this Drakefish as much as possible. Now, I do realize that I'm forgetting to max, or I don't realize that I'm forgetting to max here, which is kind of an issue throughout this. Like the further we get away from the start, the more I forget that maxing is a viable option. I could totally like max water into Gigalith, or max fairy into the Dracovish. That's probably the play here. The play is most likely max go for whatever max Moonblast is into the Dracovish. And with the Mesprit I send out, I think get a Grass Knot off. Wait, no, Grass Knot doesn't work. Just see what, or Protect, yeah, see what it gets out of a Gigalith. So, that should have been my play, but instead, I risk it. I risk the bulk, I risk the AV, because I'm thinking, oh, it's just gonna go down. Spoiler alert, it does not go down, and I basically throw this game with this turn, I'm not realizing. Because with that, I don't really have much I can do. Finny is gonna be essentially useless now that Dracovish is still alive, etc, etc. And we're just letting this get free reign. This is the turn that I throw the match, essentially. Yeah, it's now one hit, it's going to die next turn. Because, as we see, it's literally 2 HP. Now, I also think that they're not going to let Dracovish go down, they're going to Dracovish kill Finny, and Mesprit can just deal with it. So whatever comes in on the Gigalith slot is going to come in the Gigalith slot. So I think... Now, I'm also forgetting here, when I'm thinking all of this... what's it? Sand is running out soon. But also, Mesprit goes down. I get an Icy Wind off at least this turn. And this also doesn't kill, because I thought, oh, Icy Wind is gonna kill. It doesn't kill. It doesn't fucking kill. And that's the turn that I threw the game part 2, because I thought, yeah, I didn't even realize I don't know what I was thinking. I should have just Dazzling Gleamed. I should have. I threw the game. 2 turns in a row, I completely threw. Now my chances are 0, and I am in a shit situation. So I'm just gonna try attacking into the Dracovish, see what happens, because that's gonna be about the only thing that can hurt me. But it switches out, resets, which is fine, I guess. And I get my hit onto my Lele. Also, we see the double switch here, which I don't know why, but they're kind of like trying to bait, I think, now at least. At the time, I had no clue what this was or what the plan was. But the plan was kill Lele, take whatever comes from Toxtricity, I can take it next turn. And whatever happens, happens. In reality, what we see is, I believe, a double switch, or a protect, rather. Oh yeah, that's what my thought was. My thought was I was going to max hail into the Lele. Lele can go down. Dracovish comes back in and dies. So they're going to come in with Gigalith. Now, of course, they Volt Switch, so they get the double switch plus chip. Because Lele is just getting sacked. So, end of the day, I am in just such a shitty situation. I cannot win. And yeah, there's nothing much else to it. And we're just gonna watch the rest of the game unfold as they get this set back up. So, going into game 2, my thought is I have to deal with this quick. So I'm going into the Talonflame mode, which I believe the best way to deal with it is Talonflame Togetic, because Talonflame Togetic allows me to, it allows me to redirect the Sand Mode attacks. Also, late game Dynamax, if that even matters. Late game attacks, or sorry, not late game, Sand Mode attacks, I can redirect. I can get Tailwind off, so I can outspeed the Dracovish, etc., etc. And what we learn from talking to the man after is that this is red hard. And everything that they do is hard reading what I'm doing here. So essentially, the fact is, I didn't recognize what my misplay was the first game. It just leads to a series of unfortunate events. I'm stalling here because I realize I'm leaving him behind the Urshifu Finny, and I'm trying to realize or reason to myself if that's something that I'm okay with. Because I'm honestly not sure. But I realize, it's better than nothing, I have to go with the Gambit. We also see here that Casa Berry doesn't get used for shit. And I don't think Choppleberry gets used outside the Lucha. So that should have been Rosalie Berry. And, I don't know, a Life Orb maybe. Just thinking that through. So we see a Hawlucha Tox. And, yeah, it's a hard read. I don't recognize what this is soon enough. So I just go for the Tailwind Follow Me. But what this is double multi-hit with Overdrive and the Rock Slide. So essentially what this is doing is setting me up for failure. So what I should have realized is that since both of these are in, we're probably not going to see a Giga set. Which is just my mistake. And because of that, I could freely Brave Bird into the Lucha. And I don't even know. Dazzling Gleam to finish it off, Yawn into the Tox, etc. But because of this, I'm set up with a Tailwind, one Mon down, and a Mesprit. And I don't know what the calcs are entirely. I don't know. I don't want to risk it though. So I think I go for the max Psychic into the Toxicity, plus a Yawn into the Lucha, because if a Yawn gets onto the Lucha, it's going to force a switch, or so I hope. So, of course, this is happening. And, yeah. Just gonna wait it out for the minute. Mind Sword comes out. and takes the KO, which I was pretty much guaranteeing at that point. I just needed to know where the sash was, and apparently the sash wasn't there. We find out. But we do find out that Lucha is Psychic Seed, which is good to know, but also it's fast. And funnily enough, Togetic lives, which is why I felt comfortable yawning, because I didn't think it would die to the second Rock Slide. And we're just waiting on what comes in. So in comes the Dracovish. Dracovish, I'm not expecting much out of it. What I'm expecting here is the switch from the Hawlucha into a Gigalith. And then I can just deal with that how I please. So that's my expectation. But what I should have known is that Gigalith probably isn't there because it's probably the Lele. So now what I'm doing here is objectively the wrong play. I'm helping handing and max grassing into the Lucia slot. I think it's what's it called? I think it's gonna switch. But no, we get the max, and I believe it's max Rockfall to set up the sand. Again, let me remind you, I had the opportunity to kill it turn 1, and I probably could have and just should have read that the Gigalith wasn't even here. So I had a variety of chances to take this. Obviously, it didn't work out. And this is the turn where it all goes to shit. Because I waste my turn barely getting any hits off. Lucia, of course, is going to set up the Rockfall. Dracovish can do its thing. And last but definitely not least, this Togetic is going to go down. Also, Tailwind's down in one turn, which is also important to know. So, I'm trying to see what I have in the back. It's Magnezone. Magnezone doesn't like Fish very much, or nothing on my team likes Fish very much. So I think, okay, I should probably max Mindstorm plus Helping Hand into it, right? Or no. I can't do that because the Fish's friend coming into Mesper probably gonna kill it. But then I forget that, of course, I outspeed anyway. Even with the Tailwind. I should have Helping Handed, but I didn't. Also, Drakefish is withdrawn because it's probably a hard read. It goes into the Lele. I probably should have read that as well. But no, I couldn't even read that. So Follow Me goes to waste, which I know now. It wouldn't matter anyway. Mindstorm goes into Lele and finishes that. Also, let me remind you. Or not let me remind you, but I just realized, rather, that they're probably trying to stall out my Dynamax. Stall out my, what's it called? My Togetic. So the less value they get, the better. This is probably why I could have read that. But, of course, I didn't. Looking back on it now, some of this stuff seems fairly obvious. I should have understood. But I basically threw the game because I'm thinking on a 2D level, he's thinking on a 3D level, and that's it. What am I gonna do? I don't even remember why I did this turn, anyway. Oh yeah, I Flash Cannon into the Lele. And I just, I Side Shock into the Lucia to get the chip. Yes, of course, you have to kill it eventually. Flash Cannon into the Lele. And now I think it's going into its third turn of sleep on a possible 5. We're hoping for the 3-turn sleep. And if it gets it, I'm in a much better spot. If it doesn't, I'm screwed. So now we're gonna just see what happens. Do we get the 3-turn sleep? Do we get it? Well, Protect comes off. And Lucia wakes up. You don't get it. Close Combat comes out into the Magna Zone. Very unfortunate. Because 30 comes out. They're probably gonna hit a Dazzling Gleam and kill it before I can get that off. And I should have just gone for the Shadow Ball into the Lele to make sure that it survived. What am I gonna do? Because of course we see the Dazzling Gleam. Yeah. Magna Zone dies. Mesprit's like at 1. It would have died there if had I not protected. And now Mesprit's just gonna die. What can I say? I played very poorly this week. There were some assumptions I should have made that would have helped my game a lot, but I didn't make them. And I made a lot of forgetful mistakes in the first game. Overall bad time. I was read well. That's it. GG's Izzy. You played better. I gotta remember to eat.